All right, folks, we're here today with Pam, and Pam has been with us for a few years now. Her transformation has been incredible, to say the least. Her journey has been even more incredible when we talk about obstacles, things that we've had to overcome to get to where she's at today. And I'd love for her to tell you more about this entire journey, share her experience and stories. I'll send a few prompting questions to keep the conversation going. But first and foremost, I hope that you guys are excited today, and we're going to meet Pam. So Pam, if you're willing, tell us a little bit about yourself and of course, what you do for a living or maybe did for a living, if you're retired or whatever the case is. And if you want to share things about, family life or having kids or whatever else, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hi, everybody. Most of you already know me, but I'll give you a little bit of information. I'm going to be 49 in a few months, so that's quite a hurdle for me, I would think. I'm married. I've been married since 1996, so a long time. I have two boys. They're 29 and 24. From the Sudbury area. My main home is in Dowling, but I spent a lot of time on Manitoulin Island. We have a second home, vacation home. As far as my work life, I'm kind of semi-retired because I work for myself. I set my own hours and basically computer graphics, like 3D modeling and, like clothing that's digital clothing. It's hard to explain it to people that don't really understand. But yeah, you could kind of imagine like Pixar, where you have a character in Toy Story, let's say, who's wearing an outfit. Well, I would have designed that outfit, let's say. Okay, that's kind of what I do. For hobbies, I mean, other than the computer stuff, I like gaming. I'm an avid gamer. I'm a real nerd. Computers is basically my life. But then there's the fitness world where I'm a hiker, I'm a walker, obviously I'm a fitness guy like Lawrence, it's my life. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I've been a Precision Elite member since 2019, so we'll be starting our 5th year in November, Lawrence.
That's amazing. I love it.
Pretty wild.
And when you talk about what you do for a living, I think video games, because I love video games, and I think about the outfits the characters wear in some of the games. So that's the type of stuff you do for digital graphics.
Yeah, it's basically like 3D assets.
Cool.
That you could that people could use for gaming, for movies, for just still artwork, and yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Good stuff. So you kind of work from home as far as home goes.
Yes. Have internet. I always say have internet, can travel.
There you go. Take it where you go. That's awesome. Now that leads us into our next question, which is going to be a more of an assessment of everything you've accomplished from the gym life where we first met to where you're now at in the last 3 years, at least, training at home and implementing home. So it's not all about how much home equipment you have. We got a really big fancy system in the background there, but you know how to work with the basics, the body weight, the bands, the dumbbells. We've gone through a lot, but just for the listeners and the viewers right now that they know a little bit about who you are and what you do, can we give them a summary on how much you've achieved just as a whole so they can kind of relate to like what their goal might be? When your goal was coming in, maybe you wanted to do a certain thing. What was the overall outcome, first of all, like as far as your results? Give us a little bit of a summary.
Okay. I've lost more than 30 pounds since I started with you. 8 dress sizes, so like a 14 to a size 6. Yeah, I don't know what that translates in total inches because I don't have that, that number. But for like non-scale victories, I would say like it's like my self-awareness is. I mean, you might have noticed, people that knew me since the beginning would have noticed I'm way more outgoing, way more confident, way more chatty. The clothing I wear. I mean, I'm wearing black today. Of course, I have to represent, right? Precision Elite, but stuff like this, I'm always wearing like the crazy, wild, the bolder, the better. And that normally I never would have done before. I would have been, hide everything, hide in a corner kind of thing. So yeah, now it's, more energy, more confidence, more strength. Yeah, I'm just more me.
That is so cool. I love it. You've created an identity that may not have even been there, or something you weren't even aware was there from the very start. which is cool. So that's awesome. And anyone who knows Pam and follows her on social media, obviously, you've seen her style and her outgoingness, which is super cool and super motivating. I love that. So let's go back and hit the rewind button then. If we took it back to the very beginning before we met, and we start things right at the very, very start of your story. What was the major obstacle that was kind of standing in the way? Because you were going to the gym in the beginning, right? But we weren't working together. And there were some attempts at getting fit, healthy, and trying to reach your goal. What were some of the major obstacles that stood in the way at that time?
I'm going to go right back to the beginning. I actually started my fitness journey on my own in 2007. So that's a long time ago. I joined Curves for Women in Chelmsford. And at that point, I was like all in. I was at my heaviest and I lost 30 pounds through Curves for Women. And I was also a Zumba instructor through Curves for Women. So there was a lot of activity. So I managed to lose a lot of weight, but there was no muscle gain. It was just pure fat loss, right? And then the Curves for Women closed down and I joined another gym and, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have any goals. I was just going to the gym for the sake of being healthy, right? So over time, even though I was working really hard, I slowly gained all my weight back because I didn't have a routine. It was just go and do whatever I felt like doing, right? So yeah, I gained all my weight back. And then in 2016, I totally fell off the rails. I discovered I had a misaligned vertebrae, degenerated disc, nerve damage. I mean, it's still there. I just know how to work around it. With your help, you helped me work around it, and I'm much stronger in this area as a result. So, I mean, yeah, those were the big obstacles, was the injury that I have no idea how I got it, but it's, it'll be with me for the rest of my life, but I haven't had an issue with it in a long time, which is like really, really good, so.
That's super cool. And in that same question, when we're talking about that, we're talking about the frustrations
Right.
that come from that obstacle. Now, the neck thing was one of the obstacles you had. Were there any specific limitations and frustrations that came with not knowing how to handle that or train to improve that?
Well, when I first discovered that I had the issue, I couldn't even walk. Like I could move around and stuff and get up, but walking was laboring, because the pain was so bad, it affected my whole body. So I basically spent like 2 months sitting in an upright position on a lazy boy because I couldn't walk, I couldn't exercise, I couldn't lay down, I couldn't sleep, like nothing. So it was brutal. It was like probably the biggest hurdle that I ever faced in my life was that moment. And then there's the depression that came with it because I was active. I wasn't with you, but I was active and I couldn't train. Even though I wasn't seeing any improvement, I couldn't train. Yeah.
It's crazy. And then, so what got you back to training as far as like when you were, obviously you couldn't train at this time. How did you get back to training?
As it started to go away, you were at the gym at this point, and every so often I felt really guilty, if I'll be honest. Every so often I would approach you and talk to you about certain things. And you actually helped me a few times with, like, you sat me down on the floor and I remember you kneading my shoulder one time, discussing, certain movements I could try. And really that's really where it all started, like getting back.
That's cool.
Was you.
That's cool. I
When we
didn't
weren't
even
training
realize.
together, it was you. Yeah, you didn't know that. But yeah,
No.
like when I'd have issues with it, like after it went away, I would have mini flare-ups where there was pain, like right down to the tip of my thumb, which is something I've told you about. The end of my thumb is partially numb. But so yeah, I would feel this pain and I would discuss it with you, like, how can I get around this? And you weren't even training me at the time. And you were so willing to help me. It's forever grateful here,
That's awesome. I had
Yeah.
no idea. That's really good. And like we were saying, the idea that you were able to get back into the gym life and
Yes.
you had this issue now that you were aware of, and you were starting to kind of ask questions, probing, I guess, to get the information on how to do it safely. Was
Yeah.
that the main goal, just to safely work out, or did you still have some specific goals? You had talked about curves. You had lost 30 pounds and kind of regained it. Was your goal to kind of get back into weight loss again, or were you looking more for strength? Where were you kind of at before we started?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I would say I was the whole ball of wax. I wanted to be strong. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to be confident. I wanted to be pain free. Like if you name it, that was probably one of my goals. But the main goals I would say would be training safely because I didn't want to go through this again, the neck pain. Training safely for sure, and just being strong and just being strong because I was always strong, but you know,
Right.
I wanted to be strong.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love how you said kind of like you name it, I wanted it. I think a lot of
Yes.
people can relate to that because we all want more, right? If we don't have it, we want it, right? And
That's right.
your goal is to try and accomplish all these things at the same time, which you learn in the process of training that it's not always the case. Like,
Yeah. It's
you
not
know,
always possible.
yeah,
Yeah.
we wish we could just, lose all that extra body fat, gain all that extra muscle, and still get all it. And we want to try and do everything. So we expect perfection, and that can become a hindrance in people's progress.
Oh, for
And it's
sure.
something we learn about ourselves in the journey. So I love that you
And
mentioned.
it's something I learned the minute I started training with you officially was that an all at once approach can never work.
That's so cool.
Because when we started training together, you had me doing things. And I remember my first thought on the first day was like, what did I get myself into? And I never told you this either. It was like, okay, stand with your hands up and I'm going to push against you and you have to resist me. And I'm like, dude, like, what the heck? Like, this isn't training. But I was so sore the next day. I was like, okay, I see where this is going.
That's awesome.
You know?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
what a cool moment. And again, this is great that we do these interviews, because I'm even learning more about things I didn't realize impacted you so heavily. Although I
Yeah.
know the kinesiology of it and how it's going to benefit you, there's
Yeah.
also that emotional and mental side that I never get to see, right? It's not visible. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I hope our viewers and listeners today are also experiencing it along with you and kind of reliving these moments.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
super cool. So in question 5, it's kind of a once we started working together, like what first of all flipped the switch to make you say, I'm going to work with this guy? And then after that, how has the programs that we've implemented on you and into your lifestyle benefited you?
Okay. Like, I mean, I've told you this before, but I had no intention of hiring you as a coach because I had a coach before. Yeah. Yeah. You know this story. I had a coach before, and on our first training day, she trained me as though I had been training with her for years. So I was doing like 300 lunges with 25-pound weights in my hands. This is day one. 300 lunges, squats, like, and then like doing weighted. I'm telling you, the delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS is what they're called. My arms were locked in a 90-degree position for like a week. I couldn't, like, and then the leg pain, like sitting on the toilet was like next to wiping my ass was next to impossible because I couldn't straighten my arms. So it was like, when you came to the gym, I was like watching you is like, I have no intention. I'm not doing it. I'm too afraid. He's going to do the same thing because that's normal for coaches. That's a normal coaching relationship. So I was afraid. But I watched you for months. As you know, I've told you this story, watched you for months. And I chatted with some of the people that were already training with you. Everybody seemed so happy. And so there was this interaction between you and your clients. I was like, I got to try this because this guy, he's the guy, So it's like, I'm all in, and I've been all in ever since. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I don't regret it. I don't regret it for a single moment.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you were watching for clients who couldn't come back, couldn't walk, couldn't move their arms fast, and you never saw them. They were just not.
No,
Right? I
no.
think a lot of trainers, and again, and we're not here to speak poorly of anyone else, but it's due to the lack of experience. They come out thinking that more is more, when really less is more. And meeting the client
And
where they're
they didn't, she never asked me what my goals were. She never asked me what I wanted to do. She never asked me what I was capable of. There was no pre-assessment. Like you and I did a pre-assessment. There
absolutely.
was nothing like that. It was just, here's the fire. Here you are. Let's do this. It was like brutal. So I assumed that it would be the same thing with you. So that's why there was that hesitation. But I watched you, I talked to you, you know, like you helped me through some things. And so, yeah, it was a given. It was a no brainer, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's perfect in the fact that you were able to overcome a lot of things during the process of our training, but it came down to properly screening you in the beginning and understanding where you were at, meeting you there, and then moving you forward into a progress that I already knew through experience was going to pay off, but it was a matter of adapting it to your lifestyle. So
Exactly. Yeah.
we had to overcome a lot. We met just before,
COVID.
the COVID hit, the 2020, and then we all got forced into home workouts. We had no idea what we were in for at that point, as far as, will we be able to return to gym life, or are we going to adapt to home life? And you're one of the ones I can talk to about this, because I'm not here to say don't go to gyms. Gyms are great too. But home workouts, for a lot of people who are now realizing that we are a specialist in home workouts, your results changed and transformed in the last 3 years from strictly home-based workouts. Can you give us a comparison into what that transition meant, how you had to adapt to it, and if it's been better, worse, or the same from where you were at?
Well, I'm one of the fortunate ones that I'm a little bit spoiled when it comes to my fitness, because I mean, I have this thing, but I also have one at my main house. So I have the system at home, and we weren't coming to the lake house as often. So when COVID happened, I had a Bowflex at the time, and I was using the Bowflex, and I outgrew it. So I ended up buying my first Smith machine, functional trainer. And it was a game changer. It was like, I can do everything on this machine that I was doing at the gym. And it only cost me what it cost me to purchase it. Now it's paid for. I don't have to keep going to the gym. I don't have to wait for equipment. I don't have to worry about other people not wiping down their equipment, because that was a big thing at that gym. People would just get off, and it was pretty gross sometimes. So there was like no waiting for machinery, no, the people everywhere. I mean, I wasn't a very social person, not like I am now. But so then there was like the constant distractions of, people talking to you and stuff. Not that I minded that, but it's like the headphones are on. I'm here to do a job. And the job is what it's me. Mm-hmm. And then you'd have the distractions of the interactions, and just, are you done using this machine? Can I hop in and do a quick set, and that type of thing. So moving from, COVID was almost a blessing in disguise as far as the fitness for myself, because I never, ever would have imagined working from home on my own.
Right.
And now I can't imagine going to a gym to work.
Right.
At a gym. Yeah. I mean, we still had you were always there for me, even throughout COVID. Like, you were always there. Like, we continued. You did the Zoom coaching and the Zoom group chat, or the group classes and stuff. So, I mean, I think if you had said, I'm done with the whole coaching thing because of COVID, I'm going to go off on my own, I think I probably would have abandoned it.
Right. Wow.
You and the team, you guys, there was so much value in what you had created, that, I mean, even now there's so much value. I can't see myself ever not being a Precision Elite person. It's part of my blood. Like, I bleed green.
Yeah.
Well, there's another new line, 101%, and I bleed green.
That's amazing. That's so cool. So if, for anyone who's watching, and we're talking here about the transition from the gym life to here, we're not saying, that the gym life isn't great. That's where we began. It's where all this foundation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have so many. There's like one of my closest friends I met at the gym. She was getting off of a cardio machine. I was getting off a cardio machine, and they had the TV screens up, and we were both grabbing the paper to wipe off our machines. And there was some show, I don't remember what it was, but it was something about really close friends. And I looked over at her and I said, you know what? It would be so cool to have a friendship like that. And here we are, almost 5 years later, she's like one of my closest friends.
That's awesome.
And that's because of the gym life, like.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah,
there are definite advantages to going to the gym. Don't get me wrong. I love the environment. I love the energy. I love the way it felt being there. It was like your own space, even though there were other people. Yeah. But I prefer being solo. I definitely prefer training solo now.
Right. So it has its pluses, it's
Oh,
advantages
100%.
when it segues, which is cool. So if you're at home training and you've got equipment like that, that's great because you kind of brought a gym to your house. Some people don't have that, and it's still okay to let them know, obviously, that there's ways to succeed. Before we had that, you only had the Bowflex. So we learned about dumbbell training with
Yep.
dumbbell mastery and things like that too. So you now have the ability, if I took your machines away, would you be able to stay fit?
Oh, for sure. You don't need a lot. Like I have a set of adjustable dumbbells that I could use. And even if I didn't, if I only had my TRX, which is my suspension machine, I don't know if anybody, in case somebody doesn't know what it is, it's straps, adjustable straps that you hang. It's all body weight. And I mean, that's the program we're on right now is basically a TRX, mostly TRX system. And it's freaking amazing. It's brutally amazing. Because it's hard work because it's all body weight. So you can make it, if you're having an off day, train anyways, just adjust accordingly. And that's the amazing thing with the TRX is that even if you're having an off day, it doesn't matter. You just move your feet a little bit further or a little bit closer, like.
Cool. Yeah, you can adjust your weight on the fly kind of thing.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
amazing when you know how to use the tools, right?
Exactly.
Which is awesome. Before we started, did you have a knowledge of all the different tools and how to use them all confidently? Or was there a bit of an element of being scared to try these certain things? And then you always had the neck issue in the back of your mind too. I mean, there's a lot of things, but did you ever fear any pieces of equipment? Or even if you went to a gym, there were certain things you didn't know. Was that holding you back as an obstacle?
Oh, I would think so for sure. Like the leg press machine, I never really used it that much. I don't even think we used it that much in training because I was always afraid of just simple little things like unlocking and locking it. There was a fear of, what if I do it wrong and the weight slams down on top of me because it's up here and things like that, like stupid, irrational fears, right? Which most of the time it is. Once you have the knowledge, the fear is irrational. So it's, like even the TRX, I mean, I would have fiddled with it at the gym, but I never really knew what I could do with it, what its possibilities were. Right. There's so much that just a simple double strap system can, it's crazy.
Yeah, the fact you can actually implement an entire full body workout from home that you never know is extremely beneficial. So that's just another one of those elements that shows, over time. I mean, we've been together almost, like you said, 5 years. In that journey, you've learned how to use each of these pieces of equipment on its own as a full body workout to get these results. And then workout is one of the elements, but were there nutritional obstacles in the beginning for you?
Oh, for sure. Like, I think that was probably the biggest issue I had with pre-coach training was my nutrition. Because I mean, I was busting my ass off at the gym. You've seen me, on the elliptical machine. I've had people comment on that, and I would use the weights. I would go through, use the machines with heavy weights and stuff, but not seeing results other than just being strong. There was no weight loss, it was just strength, and that wasn't good enough for me. And it's because after we started training together, we dove into the nutrition, and I was like, okay, first of all, I never eat breakfast. That's not a good thing. I rarely ate lunch, which wasn't a good thing. And then I'd have a big meal at dinner time. Like, that's obviously not a good thing. I was not eating enough for the amount of work I was putting in. And then when I was eating, it was all at once.
Right. And again, everybody's different. So for some people in a crazy world, that might work just fine for them, but it wasn't obviously working.
It was not working for me.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we had to find a system that works for you. So let's just take this into a full, in question number 6 that I wanted to ask you here is that, could you describe how life is different now? And if we did, what would you say?
Well, I mean, I'm strong as hell. Like, I'm stronger than I've ever been. And I mean, I have my family, my in-law family, there's always these jokes about, I'm the jacked one. She needs to do this because she's the one that can do this and she's strong. And, my brother-in-law a couple of weeks ago, put his hand on my shoulder and was like, and he's a CrossFit guy, and he kind of was shocked. He was like, what the heck? And I was like, and that's my weak side. like, so he
Right.
was like, way to go, So, I mean, there's the strength thing is huge for me because, I mean, I've always been strong,
Mm.
but being even more strong and then having the confidence that goes along with the strength to push myself despite the injuries. I mean, the end of July, mid-August, I had the back injury. So being strong is definitely my main focus, I think. So yeah, it's like
That's
I'm
awesome.
confident. I have way more energy. Obviously, we talked about it already. The wardrobe change, like the
Yeah.
bolder the better. So I mean, just I would think that the biggest change in me and my life is my confidence.
That's such a powerful part. I love
Yeah.
that. There's probably a lot of people watching, listening right now who are not only inspired, but are sitting in that same position where confidence might be on the low. And maybe you've had surrounded yourself with people and experiences that have led you to that direction. But knowing that just like Pam, you can turn it all around is pretty amazing too. When we talk about how your life is different in strength, you've obviously gotten a lot stronger, a lot more confident. Has that transferred over into any specific non-scale victory type aha moments where you've seen your strength on display and even impressed yourself? Has there been any really cool ones?
Uh, Carrying the tires at your place,
Okay. Yeah.
one in each hand.
Right. How about the time I challenged you to pull your Jeep? Right.
Oh yeah, I've done a Jeep push, my Gladiator. So it's not just a little Jeep; it's a big Jeep.
Yeah.
I pushed my Gladiator. I haven't pulled it yet. We should plan on some kind of event to do that.
There you go.
Jeep
Right.
pulls and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I could probably pull it because pulling is easier, I find, than pushing. What else?
I'd like to touch on one that I thought was actually pretty cool was you mentioned in your past, way back, we went into the fact you were a Zumba instructor.
Yeah.
Then we were talking about pushing the vehicle, and doing some crazy feats of strength because that was something in your goals personally that made it your journey. You wanted more strength and you wanted to test that strength. And I love setting new strength barriers with you. But we also learned that there's an element that has to be fun to keep this exciting and have a good time with it. So we ended up finding board games online,
Oh
this
yes,
board
yes.
game fitness thing, which was actually pretty cool because it was doing a lot of the functional strength movement, home-based workouts that we were already doing, but I found a way to put it into a board game. And I just wanted to let viewers know, if you don't already know this, Pam actually not only was a participant in there for a long time, but enjoyed it so much that it brought her back to her Zumba roots and ended up teaching board games for us. So just give us a little bit of a experience, I guess, from that. What were your findings in all of that board games?
Well, the funny thing is that as soon as you mentioned board games, my brain went to burpees. And I remember when you were instructing the board games, and we do them outside at the school, and we'd all get together. Every time we, like in our teams, every time we hit board games, or not board games, sorry, burpees, they were like, okay, I'll do two and you do the rest. Because I was like, I love doing burpees. Like, who says that? But I loved doing burpees at the time, And then when I started teaching them, we had been a while since we did it regularly. I took the burpees off the board. I replaced burpees with something else because even I didn't want to do the burpees. Then after a couple of weeks, a month into to getting back into board games, I put 5 burpees, 5 in 2 different spots. And the girls were like, oh no, not burpees. I was like, but it's just 5 burpees. Like, yeah. And I always change the board up a little bit, adding some, dumbbell elements or band elements just to keep it interesting. And yeah,
That's
I mean,
super cool.
it's always interesting. Even the vanilla board is interesting because it's a challenge in and of itself, but I
Mhm.
like to keep people on their toes.
That's awesome. So if anyone's looking to get fit and have fun doing it from home with just body weight, obviously you can get into board games with Pam maybe in our new year, and we'll take a look at that stuff. But I just wanted to hear a little bit about the experience there because that was a
Yeah,
neat transition that brought you almost full circle back to Zumba coaching and training and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
again, right? So you
And a
kind
few
of
months ago, speaking of Zumba, like a few months ago during the summer, you had done that heart challenge thing, heart
Mhm.
health challenge.
Yeah.
And I think I posted I posted, the first time I posted was an actual Zumba routine. I might have done 2 more after that, but I don't remember. But it was like, hey, this is a cool idea. Every month I should put a old Zumba routine up. And I kind of got away from that. But yeah, I mean,
another fun way to enjoy it. And I like
yeah.
that you brought that up because you were talking about the community. And a lot of people don't know already, you can join our free community online, the Ultimate Health and Fitness Weight Loss Community. And we've got an amazing group of individuals, and there's a couple hundred people in there, but people like Pam and myself and so many others that are in there sharing like-minded information and challenges to keep everybody, moving forward and motivated. So inside of that, you found that Heart Healthy Challenge, which led to the Zumba. So definitely you want to get in on that community, folks. And in the community also, it gives you a chance to connect with other individuals and build that sense of accountability and responsibility as well. But it also brought you part of, where your confidence has grown, right, Pam? As far as you were mentioning, confidence has been one of your major changes in your outgoingness and finding your personal identity. So if there were women who were just joining the community for the first time, they're maybe a little afraid or intimidated to go to the gym, they want to start slow and effective at home or whatever it is, what is their goals? If you could go back, rewind yourself to the very beginning and give yourself advice, what would your advice be to the old you who before she ever started, or to the new woman who's now arrived and is looking to maybe take step number 1 but is a little hesitant? What would your advice be to go back?
It's interesting that you say take step number 1, because I've always said to people, if you're thinking about a fitness and health journey, stop thinking about it and just do it, because the journey starts with just 1 step. Take that 1 step, do that 1 rep, do that 1, whatever. It only takes 1 step, 1 rep to succeed. Stick to it and stick to it. Like, there's people that fall off the wagon and then try and get back on the wagon, but then they get in this vicious cycle, right? Fall off. Tomorrow is another day, but tomorrow is always going to be another day. So stick with it. You're going to have days where you just want to throw in the towel, but you can't. You can't throw in the towel. You're going to have bad days, but it's what you do on those bad days that really decide whether you're going to succeed or fail.
That's so cool.
And there's really no failing as long as you 1 rep at a time.
Right.
Yeah,
keep learning. It's either you win or you learn.
Yeah.
Right.
You win or you learn. Yeah.
You win or you learn. And what would life look like if there was no option to fail, right? Like, how powerful could that be if you had no fear of failure, but it's either I win or I learn. Either way, I win, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
But there's always going to be that fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
It's don't let it stop you, because if there's no fear, there's no drive, there's no ambition, at least as far as the way my brain works. Like, when we did our strength phase together, I never imagined lifting, let's see, I have it written down.
Yes.
225 pound squats.
Right.
165 pound chest presses, and the big one, which is like the one that blows my mind, is 350 pound deadlift. Like, I never would have imagined being able to do that. Right. Why? Because I was afraid to try.
Absolutely. Yeah. You had already preconceived.
You take away the fear, or you have a healthy amount of fear, because you should always have a healthy amount of fear. I had a healthy amount of fear when we first started doing that phase. And I was like, oh boy, he wants me to be able to do what now? And then we did it. It was like, holy moly, like, I can't believe I just pulled that off.
That's so awesome. I love that. And yeah, it's true. Preconceived limitations really do hold us back. And like you said, a healthy amount of fear protects us from getting injured or damaged. And it's also to put your trust in the right hands. So I'm really glad and really thankful that 5 years ago you put your trust, in my hands, and that we formed this relationship, and we've seen the results you've had. So that's been awesome. I hope that our listeners have gotten some extreme value out of hearing the story today and the experience. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to highlight, that just in case there was a question or anything that you can think of?
No, I think we covered most of it, like a really good deal of it. But the question 8 was definitely the one that I think we should focus on the most, is don't think about it, just take that step and you won't regret it, kind of thing. Like, Just takes one rep at a time.
That's it. And we've come up with our new slogan of 101%. We're trying to be 1% better. It's not a
101.
perfection journey. It's just it's a journey of evolution and taking those continuous steps of 1% better. So I love
Yeah.
that. I'm looking forward to it. I want to thank everybody for joining us today and being part of our testimonial series. And to Pam, congratulations. We can't wait to see where you're going to go for, the next few years as we continue on the journey. But in the last 5 years that we've been working on your body, your transformation, we've seen just continuous
Yeah.
changes.
Not just a physical transformation.